Hey fam, what's up? What's up? Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot. Really, guys, really. I don't even know what's going on anymore. It's been a week. Welcome to Capital Discourse. I'm your host, Dakota Jones, and we are here, and we're here for it. Are we all ready for this? Because I mean, really, it's been a week. It's been a week. So, if in case you've missed or you're under a rock somewhere, DC is currently under siege. I think that we have almost about 2,000 troops here, and that's not to count all of the DEA, all of the ICE, all of the FBI that are running around. Everybody that's running through the city right now, do what they want to do. That's where we're at, fam. That's where we're at right now. That's just like a part of it. There's so much more. We've got so much to go into today. We're not going to get to it all, but we'll try. We got to keep you informed as best as you can, but you're going to have to be here for it. I mean, legit, because this shit's fucked up. So when we get back from our break, we'll get into this stuff. Oh, hey, fam. Welcome back. So, yeah. Let's get into this. First off, I could really come at you with all of this, hey, things are great, and look up, it'll get better. Right now, I'm not really feeling that this week. So we're just going to kind of go into this au naturel. First off, we're going to talk about DC. That's the thing that's on everybody's TikTok feed, everything. If you've heard about it, it's DC. It's all DC. The crime is bad. All of the things are so horrible. It's horrible. But let's really look at what is happening. Let's not make the guessing games. Let's not just guess. So just in case you don't know, there's a crime emergency here in DC, and the National Guard has been activated, and they are patrolling the streets along with MPD. Now, DC, as you know, is not its own state, which means that we don't have the same protections as every other state in the union has. That means that we don't have a Congress, that we have a representation in Congress that protects us, and makes sure that we have an equal say. We don't have those things. But what we do have here is something called home rule. And that is where we're allowed to elect our own counselors. We're able to put in our own mayor. And they make laws pretty well wall to wall. However, sometimes, just sometimes, The federal government gets either very, very conservative, very, very liberal, and they don't agree with what's going on in here in the city, and they take over. And that is what's happened. And so now we have a federal takeover by the Trump administration and the Trump Justice Department. And we're kind of dealing with that here. But all those things being said, they've said that the homicides are bad. They've said that there's murders through the roof. And let's really look into it. In 2024, there was only 187 homicides in this city. And they were kind of hitting us with this approach that we had this major crime wave. It was 187 homicides. Now, let me tell you, one death is too many, okay? Let's make that very clear. One death is too many. But we're not little Bogota, okay? This isn't Afghanistan. This is not some third world country where you go outside and somebody's going to shoot you because you went outside. This is not that. We are a normal American city that has normal problems. We are an American town that has American problems. Because in American cities, in American towns, in American districts, homicide is a thing. Now, you ask, how do they figure out what the crime rate here is? Well, what they do is that they figure out how many is the total population in a city, which in Washington, D.C., it is 702,000 people, just over 700,000 people. Okay. And then they take that and then they will divide it by the amount and then multiply that times the number that you're trying to get the sampling of. Now, in crime rates, the sampling is per 100,000 residents. And that's how you come to it. It's not per one-to-one. This is not a one-to-one, because if it was one-to-one, the numbers would be way too low and you wouldn't get afraid, right? It would be 0.01%, and you wouldn't be afraid. It'd be a thing. However, what they do is they say but per 100,000, and that's what we have to deal with, and so that's where they're getting these high homicide rates from. But if you looked at it at a 1-to-1 ratio, the homicides in Washington, D.C. are less than 1%, and that's very important to know. This is not, you're not unsafe. Don't change your plans just because you think that it's unsafe. It's not unsafe. Yes, we have problems, but it's not unsafe. That being said, there is a crime problem. Don't let that mistake you from saying that we don't have a problem, but we have a problem that needs to be dealt with solutions, not with knee-jerk reactions. And sending the National Guard, I think, is honestly just a show. It's just a show. It's a show that honestly, it could be done without. Last year, there were 3,469 violent crimes inside of the city of Washington. Okay, that's too many. But again, when you're looking at a budget that has been slashed and slashed and slashed by different budget bills and appropriation bills, you're losing funding for X, Y, and Z. That's where you really and truly lose a lot of this help, where we're able to kind of keep the violent crimes down. I mean, really, ShotSpotter is one of the major things that a lot of cities use. It's not free. Cities have to pay for it. Even though they're headquartered here in DC, it still costs the city. Okay. It costs other cities to use it. Syracuse, Chicago, all of those locations, they have to pay for those types of services. Community intervention services also cost. And so when you're slashing budgets, you have to remember these are part of the problems that they're dealing with. It's not just lock everybody up. You have to have some sort of intervention. If you are reactionary, it's not going to help. Okay. So that being said, there were just over 1,000 aggravated assaults last year. There was also just over 2,000 robberies last year. And again, way too many all the way around. And also motor vehicle thefts. There was just over 1,000 or 5,000. 5,139 motor vehicle thefts last year in Washington, D.C. This can be dealt with. It can be dealt with through community action programs. It can be dealt with through a lot of different ways. But just outright banning and outright telling all the youth they need to be home at a certain time, and that's it. And if they're outside, they're going to get arrested. And sending the National Guard through cities and through the cities and the neighborhoods, because you think it's just going to stop here. You are sadly mistaken. Matter of fact, Claudia Tenney herself, from upstate New York, the representative of the 24th Congressional District from upstate New York herself, said, this should be a model. This should be a model used nationwide. I can't address that more. This should be a model used nationwide. Yeah, we have their full comment there. This should be a model used all over in all of the cities, and just so happens that Donald Trump himself said this week Chicago's a possibility. Chicago's next on his list. He said that. He said that Chicago's next on his list. We should all be afraid about that, because that means that he's going to go into Illinois. What's going to stop him from going into every other state? We've seen him do it in LA. He said, I'm securing the federal buildings. We're securing the federal buildings. But we're going to send the troops in to secure the federal buildings. We know what that means. We're not stupid. We're securing the federal buildings. Chicago's next. So remember that. It's not just a here problem. It's not just a swamp issue. It's an everywhere issue. So, that's a lot as is. But we're going to move on a little bit, because we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that whole discussion there. We've heard from this week from the Fed chair that he is open now to reducing rates. The conditions are favorable enough at this moment. Jerome Powell stated that the conditions are favorable enough that we can reduce those rates. We can put that up. So the conditions are favorable enough that we'll reduce the interest rates. Also, if you've also been paying attention to the news quite a bit, yesterday, the home of John Bolton was searched by the FBI. This search was conducted under a classified document search. Was stated that hey, you might have some documents in there, so we want to see. And this is on par for what we've seen inside of this presidency and inside this administration. They have stated that they are going to do the search. They're going to go after those who are truly against them and against what they say. And quite honestly, he told you he was going to do this. So anybody who's surprised by this matter at this point should really. Moving on. And we've got some videos too here. We're going to show you in a second here. But Governor Newsom of California, he's taken this different stance within the Democratic Party. And I think it's something we really should look at here as Democrats, as well as independents, and those who are really kind of looking for an alternative to what is going on the left and the right.
I'm sorry, I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
Damn!
Governor Newsom has pretty much said we're coming back. We're gonna come back. We're gonna fight. If we need to fight, we will fight. We're the days of going high when they go low are completely over. And and with comments like the president saying on during the week here about Chicago, I really, it's one of those things where what do you do? What do you do with that? I mean, really, we've got some. We may not have those comments. So moving on. One of the things that I really wanted to kind of point out to you about all of these pieces here, we've got all the troop actions, we've got all the things that are going on. We have upwards of almost 2,000 troops here in the city. And they're spread out from different National Guards here and there. I believe that Louisiana sent 400. We've got almost about 2,000 now total. And this is not to count all of the different DEA agencies and all the other pieces here. But really, I wanted to really kind of resonate is that in Iraq right now, in a hot zone, in our current hot zones in the United States, in Iraq, there is about 2,500 troops stationed there, between 2,500 and 2,800. And obviously this number is going to fluctuate. It is what it is. It is a war zone. It is still a war zone. But we have about 2,000 here in Washington, D.C. Is it that bad? Is it that bad? In Syria, we have 900 stationed troops that we are actively saying that we have there. In Afghanistan, just under 100. And in Djibouti, 600. And in Somalia, just about 400. And quite honestly, there's about 2,000 here. And then there's about another 500 federal agents walking the streets, plus the regular MPD complement. I mean, is that something that's necessary? I mean, really, is that an overreach, or is this just a show? I believe that safety is important, but I believe that this is also a little bit of a show. That all being said, guys, I am going to be bringing in my esteemed hosts and counterparts today, and we're going to be getting into this. We're going to really be diving into this when we get back from the break. But I'm going to welcome to you Jess Wyatt. And TJ Fields will be joining us in a little bit as well. But Jess, I mean, really, bro, really.
Yeah, how you doing there, Dakota? Are you okay? This is a lot.
I mean, it's a lot. It's total lot. I mean, really though, it's like, how do you take all this? How do you even do this as a reporter? Like, how do you come out and say, okay, well, we got to look at a bright side here. They're not trying to give us much of a bright side to work with.
Yeah, I mean, even Governor Newsom got a pamphlet in the mail saying Trump 2028. It's an unreal reality that we're living in, and to see it fair and balanced, I think needs to meet reality with what's going on, and we need to just call it what it is at this point. We're occupying our capital to defend a president who is overreaching his power. I mean, just like you said, the numbers show it. We have more troops in the capital than we do in active war zones. What does that say about our capital?
I mean, if it's truly this bad, I mean, really, if it's truly this bad, we got to do something, right? But the last time I checked, I went outside. Nobody shot at me. I mean, I don't know. And I've been here a long time. Like, I'm a lifer. I grew up in the D.C. area. I'm a native Washingtonian. So, I mean, really, come on. Like, this is a little bit overkill. But you know what? We're going to get really into this when we get back from the break. We're going to be joined here by our esteemed colleague, TJ Cash, and we're going to go from there. Right. I'm joined here with TJ, and we're back with Jess. We're gonna really dive into this crap today. I mean, really, let's I don't even know, where do we start?
That's a good question.
That's a great question, honestly. I gotta admit, we should start with what's going on here, where we are. I'm a bit unamused with everything that's going on. It just seems like it's like Jess said, it's a bit of overreaching with power that is kind of unjust in a sense.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's ever been a reason or need for any of this. And it's quite frankly just making me feel like I'm lost in the world.
I feel you. Now, let me say this. I am a bit more conservative when it comes to understanding the things that are going on, and quite honestly, I understand a strong show. We don't need to live in a world where crime is a regular thing. It's not okay. That is not okay. But how we deal with it, I really feel like it's very important to us that we really figure out how we deal with these things. Like, we're not reactionary. We need to be pro. We need to be before the issue starts. But I don't know. Yeah, you're younger, and so give me your take as an adult here, because I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know what Jess, when you're looking on the outside in, what you think.
I got to say, I'm looking at the numbers from a different perspective. I know they just consider, the 700,000 that live here, but that percentage will be quite lower if you account for all the tourists that come through DC, and that's about 200,000 more on a daily basis. So it's like, are we really looking at this? What are the ramifications that we're really looking at?
I mean, I don't know, Jess, I know you're going to have something to say here before I get into that. Really, tell you, it's numbers are numbers for me.
I sure do. I mean, we're talking about crime rates, but our president is a felon. I think that speaks for itself.
I mean, absolutely. But I mean, if we were to really dial it back, let's say we get to the cynics. We're talking about the guys that are just out here, and they're like, all right, we're gonna say the things that we're gonna say, and we believe that this is an accident. So what if Donald Trump's a felon, right? So then, what do you do with that? What I think that you really need to do is you need to look at the numbers as a whole. We are saying that the crime rates are through the roof, but we're saying these crime rates are through the roof. But what are we judging it on, right? We're not going 1-to-1, right? Because that's not a thing. That's not how the FBI does it. That's not how they signify a rate that goes by per 100,000 of the society. So then that's going to automatically inflate your numbers. It's going to make it seem scarier than it is. Where it is that, in Washington, D.C., where we had just under 300 murder homicides last year, where Donald Trump continuously, went and said that we're worse than Bogota, but Bogota had 800 homicides last year. I mean, really, they had 800 homicides last year, and that's just the homicides. And I went and we looked at those crime rates. And actually, I also reached out to the DC police for the last week as well to see what the reaction and the change were, and I have yet to receive comment back on that one yet. But if we do, we'll post it later. But Jess, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, really, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the crime rates and what type of crime is happening. I think the important thing is that we have a reasonable and kind of balanced reaction to the type of crime that's going on. I don't know that the what did you call it, a foot show, showing up is necessarily appropriate. I think that there are other methods, social interventions, in my opinion, that can help kind of mitigate some of these issues. And as CJ said, it doesn't account for all the tourists that are coming through. The numbers they're comparing to are not exactly accurate compared to the number of people who are actually going through DC. And frankly, I mean, you can hear the police sirens in the background just now. It's a thing that's happening. It's real, but I think it's being a bit blown out of proportion. And I do not think that the amount of looming force that they're bringing on the city is going to be effective in the way that we want it to be. I think it's just going to beget more violence down the line.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really going to get more violence. But I really, honestly, this is one of the things, and TJ, you're doing as well, because I've been here for a hot minute. But I know native Washingtonians, and I believe that they're doing this to provoke something. They want to see something. This is why Donald Trump went out on Friday. He went out and said he was going patrolling on Friday. That man was trying to start a fight. He was trying to start a fight. He wanted the population to get mad. He wanted them to riot, just like they did in 2020 when during the Black Lives Matter protests, when he went and walked across the street conveniently and was able to shoot off all the 15 tear gas canisters and make everybody scatter. This is exactly the same response we wanted because he wanted to see himself clearing something, doing something. It's all about the show. I had an old boss once, and he used to say perception is reality, but I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm completely lost in this whole situation just because it does seem like we're living in a movie. Like we're literally living in a third world country right now is quite blasphemy for me because I can walk out my house and feel safe enough to go, 5 or 6 blocks down the street. I've felt that safe all my life. I mean, only time I didn't was, when the DC sniper. But other than that, that was 2 people. Now I'm feeling quite, safer to maneuver throughout the city and be able to move at my own free will.
Yeah, I agree on that too. I mean, like, and just to you can kind of chime in when I say this, but one of the biggest things too is stated, and this is and time again, is that it's falling apart, and the city's falling apart. The city is just trash, and you know what? As somebody who's been a native Washingtonian, also graduated from Penn State, also knows as well quite a bit about Pennsylvania, and I know up and down the eastern seaboard, this is about the same. That our cities aren't falling apart. Actually, I've seen more growth and renaissance and rebirth inside of DC than I have ever seen in my life. I know that the same kind of applies inside of Philly. Yeah, there are pockets. There are pockets of things that are falling apart, but those are becoming less and less. I mean, in the 90s, you would walk down the street and go, "Oh my God." If you go down New York Avenue in DC now, you're like, "Wow, this is a lot going on down here." But let me tell you, 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been the same. But I don't know. It's the same up there in Pennsylvania for you.
Yeah, Dakota. Well, I would love to say, to your point, they called this a template for other cities, and I think to allude to, or not allude, but reference a little bit of what we talked about last week, they're trying to control us with fear. We work best when we band together and create our own communities. We have more power when we work together and create our communities, and they don't like that. They want to be able to create the change they want in the way they want, and that is more self-serving. And frankly, I don't think that most of our politicians live the same reality that the general bourgeoisie, if you will, does. And yeah, I mean, I don't see the same level of crime that they're alluding to. Granted, I'm not an instigator. I mind my business. I move around and keep it moving, and I really truly believe that a lot of times, if you live your life, you mind your business, trouble's not going to necessarily find you. Could you happen upon it? Yes, but there we can't effectively create change if we're not coming together as a community, and we're not going to do that if we're afraid to be in the streets. Why are we really afraid to be in the streets right now? It's not the crime rates of the city. It's not. It's because they have people patrolling the streets who are armed, who are looking for trouble, who are looking to catch people doing things that really aren't wrong.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that comes to one of the things too here, TJ. Was we were out filming some other shows on for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And DC is a ghost town. I mean, like for a Sunday, for a Saturday, for a Friday. I mean, I really haven't seen anybody out in the streets. I mean, really, it's really been a ghost town. I don't know what else going on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, from the matter of my house down to the studio, it would take about 20 to 25 minutes, and it took me only 10 minutes today. So it's really been a dead zone. I haven't seen any events going on. I think restaurants and nightclubs are saying they're down by 50% now, almost.
Well, I mean, like, but here's the thing too. It's going to help out everybody else's jurisdictions because everybody's flooding into the border cities and border towns outside of DC. Like, I mean, really, they're afraid to come in the city because the troops are walking the streets, and now this is where we're going to see harm to the economies. We're going to see these. This is what's going to happen, and so you're going to have businesses eventually falter if they continue this because he's already signified we're going past 30 days. He's asked for the permission from Congress to do that. So what's next? How long are we going to do this? We're going to do this for 90 days. We're going to do this for the rest of the year. Like, how many troops are we going to give to this? And also, what does it look like in national security? And these are the questions that really, truly need to be asked. And no one's going to ask these questions. But, and we can post them here. I can say them all the live long day, but I'm just going to say the same thing over and over and over again. And I'll just get annoyed, and we'll all get annoyed, and we'll just kind of stop watching each other because, we're going to say the same thing. However, we really need to start looking at what we can do as a community to really kind of subvert this, kind of come around and come together as a whole. I think that we really need to just not be bullied out of going outside. We need to not be bullied of not being a part of the community and avoiding the community because it's just going to hurt businesses and hurt businesses overall. We're just now getting into a point now, and we'll kind of dive into this a little bit more after this quick break here. But Jerome Powell said that he's going to really kind of cut the interest rates. This is a departure from what the drama almost. It's almost been like this, TikTok feud back for almost like Donald Trump, Elon Musk thing. Back and forth here, where they were like, "Yeah, we're not going to cut those interest rates. We're not there yet." And he's like, "Oh, it's time. I really think that this is going to be an interesting few weeks here, where the economy is going to kind of start to fluctuate, depending on what happens with the interest rates, and also a couple of other pieces too. But we'll get to those right after we get it. Oh, and we're back, guys. Hey, welcome. All right, so interest rates, bro. Interest rates getting cut. But that this is also to this back and forth drama inside of this presidency. One of the other pieces too is the home of John Bolton was searched by the FBI, and this Cash Patel FBI and this Trump administration saying that, hey, we told you we're coming. And retribution is coming, and quite honestly, I think that's where we are. But Jess, I don't know what you're getting in your world, but tell me what your piece is.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like to live by is we don't listen to what you say, we watch what you do. And people sometimes are lying to themselves, sometimes they're lying directly to you. It's hard to tell what words mean, but actions speak louder. It's a cliche, but it's true. And cutting interest rates, why do we do this? To stimulate a slowing economy, right? Why are we raiding a place looking for documents of a person who refused to assist the same thing with Mar-a-Lago years ago? I think it's just all speaking to the true underlying values, the true acknowledgement of reality, whether folks are willing to admit it or not, their actions are showing their acknowledgement. And it's a little bit validating, but also highly concerning, considering the general discourse around these topics is that it's not really a problem. It's the best economy. We're making America greater, all of these things. But why are we doing raids? Why are we cutting interest rates to stimulate economies if it's really doing better?
I mean, and that there's something to be said to that. I mean, we're looking at and what are the markers of the economy that is allowing for this interest rate cut? And why did he hold off for so long? And it still hasn't been done yet. So, the other question is it going to actually happen? Because I've heard some rumblings in the last couple of days that it may not happen, and it was going to happen. So, that's kind of one of the things. I don't know if you heard anything, TJ.
I'm being honest. I haven't heard much about this. It seems like it's been a secret agenda that they're working on, and they're keeping it under wraps very well.
I mean, I believe, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's really been not a lot of discussion that has happened, why and when and where. But quite at the end of the day, here it's a matter of, is the rates going to be cut? They're going to be cut, when they're going to be cut, and how big a rate cut are we looking at here, and what is it going to do in our markets, right? Especially right before we get into the holiday season. But that kind of gets into the next topic that we really hit on. Is Donald Trump was trying to push for these rate cuts for a while, and he fired people around this. He was releasing numbers that he didn't agree with, and this kind of goes to the retribution presidency. And I know that we've seen quite a bit of that so far. So I don't know what your take is, especially with John Bolton's home being searched in Bethesda. I know that we've got some video of that there, but at the same time, we've got the firing of a couple of different members inside of the Fed chair. There was a general that was just released, was forced to retire after some issues with the Iran strike. They were saying that there was a little bit less than what it was, and so now we were kind of getting to that point there. But I don't know, Jess, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's concerning is what I think. I think it's just all concerning. There is something to say to be so authentically you that you attract the people who are meant for you and repel the people who aren't. But I think that some politicians who are leading this country might be taking that a tad too far. I mean, you hire people, you surround them. Every good company, every good person has mentors, a board of directors, people to help guide them to make good decisions. We shouldn't be firing every single person who says that, hey, maybe that's not such a good decision. The whole point of them being there is to make sure we're making the appropriate steps forward, not to just co-sign every whim that we want to act on. I mean, I apply this in my personal life. This is a rule that I personally live by. You need to make sure you have feedback, even when it's not the good stuff. That's how I trust my best friends. They tell me the things I don't want to hear. It's sometimes painful, but you take a moment, reflect on it, and do better and move forward. But I don't see that happening in this presidency or this administration.
I haven't seen it. I don't know, TJ, have you seen it?
I was going to say it seems like we're running by more than one president here.
I mean, I feel with the fallout with Elon Musk, I definitely feel a little bit of that control there. But really, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's knee-jerk reaction. There's no planning, there's no forethought. It's been just reaction. But at the end of the day, this is an interesting battle. We've got special elections coming up. We have midterm elections coming up. Governor Newsom is setting the battleground, and also the governor of Texas is also setting the battleground as well. They're redistricting in Texas, and Governor Newsom said we're going to do the same thing. And by doing so, what we're going to do is we're going to put it out to the voters, and giving the voters the options to sit down and possibly vote on redistricting their states, and they're able to pick up the same amount. So I think it's 5-5 actually. So Texas is going to redistrict. That's happening, and they're going to gain 5 seats in the next election. And then what Governor Newsom has done is that they're going to gain 5 seats in California if the state decides to vote for the redistricting plan. One of the biggest things too, I think, that we taken here, and we'll all find this interesting, is that the Democratic Party's got a problem. They have a huge problem. They have a base that is dwindling, a base that is becoming more and more moderate, a base that is also moving to the independent world a lot. And quite honestly, when you look at these problems that they have, the question is, how do they make up that ground? They don't have the base that the Republican Party has to go ahead and try to redistrict the amount to gain the seats that they need to beat the Republicans. There's more strongholds of Republican-led states than there are Democrat states that can be redistricted. I know that they're looking at Ohio. I know that they're looking at Illinois to do the same thing. And so like they're tis for tat, but at the same time, it's not gonna be equal. The Republicans will gain more if that happens, and I think the Democrats lose in that fight. I think that this is the point now where young Democrats need to step up and kind of help guide this party through this time. And I don't know, TJ and Jess, this is where I stand, is where I am. I'm pretty old school when it comes to it, but at the same time, I believe that I have enough fresh views and ideas, but I know that you guys have some different ideas on this. When it comes to midterm elections, really, what do the Democrats do to take back the House and the Senate?
Well, Dakota, I think you said you're old school, but you have some fresh ideas. But I don't know if you've seen what Gavin Newsom has been posting online. You say tit for tat, and that's not always going to be the best, but we need to answer back somehow. And sometimes doing something, doing it poorly, and adjusting as you go along and learn is the best way to do it. I mean, he's clearly trolling Trump online, posting similar AI generated memes. They're hilarious. Generally, in my opinion, they're hilarious. It's funny. It's not professional, but neither's the president. And he's following suit and matching energy. And I think when it comes to our younger voters who have adopted more of like a nihilistic standpoint, this is a shit show, if you will, and we need to just move forward. I don't know how to handle it, kind of. They don't know what to do, but this is going to speak to that. Like, using humor is going to speak to it. Acknowledging all of the nonsense is going to hopefully rally and encourage some of these younger voters. Yeah, they might be moving to independent, but honestly, this entire country needs a change. I'm not sure, right now we have a two-party system and that's what we have to work within, but you're seeing people answer back. You're seeing, Texas redistricted, California is moving to do the same. We're going to see some shockwaves. It's not all going to be pretty, but we need to do something. And honestly, Democrats need to stop their purity tests and just accept that we don't like what the other side is doing. What are we going to do anything about it? You got to try something before anything's going to work. And the feedback of how the country reacts is going to really kind of guide the further steps. But I love that Governor Newsom's shaking it up and doing something about it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you to a point. I agree with you. I agree that Governor Newsom is bringing this as very, very, very different approach towards how to deal with it. But I'm not seeing a follow through plan. I'm not seeing this level of follow through that is going to lead to House seats. Maybe 5 in California, sure. But that's about where his influence has stopped at this point. He's a governor of California. He's not the president. He's not, he's not a senator. He can't bring bills to the floor, and so he's still just the governor. And I think that's where the Democratic Party is running into a problem: is that there's not enough people talking, and there's not enough diversified ideas and an actual plan. We can make jokes all the live long day. I can make jokes all the live long day on this show. And if I don't know what I'm going to talk about next, then, we're not going to know what we're doing next. And then we're going to sit here and look at each other awkwardly until we figure it out. And that's kind of what's happening in the Democratic Party. They can't figure it out. They can't figure out what to do next. They sit there neutral too long, and then they lose their base. They lose the moderate base. They lose the independents, and they kind of move to the next parts here. And that's why the Republicans keep going to the bank with all of their voters, because they're not giving them an option. And I really honestly think that if they gave them an option, if they gave them a heartbeat to work with, that you would see a lot more flips than we see now. I don't know, a lot of the viewers here, may not remember the 90s Democratic Party, but it used to win in the South. It used to win in the Midwest. It could do that. But right now it can't. It can barely win in the Northeast. There are states that it's held that it may lose. But at the same time, the Republicans are the same level of weak. You're looking at Claudia Tenney, who is out here saying that this should be a template, what we're doing here in DC and the rest of the country, and then threatening Illinois, Chicago at that. of the same thing. And quite honestly, if you look at it, if Claudia Tenney is saying that, she's coming from an area where it is very, very conservative, but also very, very purple. And I think that is where our country stands. And until that both parties realize that this is not a red or a blue country anymore, it's a very purple country, that nothing truly is going to get done here. And that, we're not going to see any gains. You're just going to see this tussle back and forth. It's a never-ending tug of war. But I don't know, you guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I think for the young Democrats, they need some sense of direction. I feel like that they're pretty much, with the jokes and all that are being posted, they're pretty much laughing because everyone else in the room is laughing, not truly understanding or formulating an opinion on it. They're just trying to see where the leadership is taking them and how far they're willing to go with what they're stating. Like, these jokes can only go so far until we see some action behind them.
I have a couple opinions on that, TJ. I think that in a world like this, sometimes finding joy and creating fun in the middle of the storm is its own form of dissent, its own form of pushback. And frankly, I think they might be laughing because everybody else is laughing, but they're also laughing because they're not going to move with the leadership. They're saying, we're staying right here. We don't like what you're doing. Make us. What are you going to do about it? They're challenging them.
Right.
It's a little bit making fun of them too. And I don't know that the leadership really knows what to do with a bunch of stubborn young voters. And that might just be what forces them to adjust to the younger generations and the future that I think we really need to create in the country.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, but at the same time, it's not necessarily true, because the leadership knows exactly what to do. They don't vote. So, I mean, if they voted, then they would have a problem. If the generation that is truly affected by this voting, then this would be a completely different country right now.
For sure.
But this generation has not voted continuously have not shown. They have not shown up to any. Honestly, they want to show up. They give all of the energy, all the vibes. But then there's nothing. There's crickets. It's crickets. Nothing. I don't know if the doom scroll continued and they forgot to vote, but they forgot to show up.
I think it speaks to an underlying issue where, since perhaps Obama's era, we have been voting against the other party instead of for our own. And I mean, Obama's election was the first one that I was able to vote in. And, we're speaking about the generation younger than mine. And so if the only world they've ever grown up in politically is one where you are voting against your opponent instead of supporting your own values, I can understand where the frustration might come and where the what's the point attitude might begin. I'm not entirely sure how to solve the problem or what to say to encourage these young voters or the rest of the world to do their part and make their voices known. But at this point, I don't think they feel like their voices are valued. And even if they did go to the polls, would it affect the change they want? That's what they're questioning.
To a level there, you were correct. This generation has not seen the ability to see a range of voting. They have not been able to vote for who they wanted to on principles. They've been told that if you don't do it, it's the evil scourge of whatever. And if you don't vote this way, you're going straight to hell. And that's just what it is. But quite honestly, if we look at it from a whole, this generation in general has not stood up. This generation is born out of trauma, has lived through trauma, and continued through trauma. And they have not been given the ability. They didn't have the 1990s where we saw success. We didn't see all of the good times and the happy fun. And when Obama was first elected, when everybody took to the streets and partied, there has not been that. The only time that everybody has taken to the streets in the last 10 years is to protest. There has not been a party. There has been no harmony. There has been literally nothing but discourse. And quite honestly, what do you do with that? But how do you invigorate a party? And that's where both parties need to figure it out, because one way or the other, they're going to lose voters at a rapid rate. The base of their voters are getting older and older, and they are dying off. And so then you're looking at this 50s, 40s, upper 30s crowd that is going to start voting. And let me tell you, they're cranky, they're angry. And, which way they vote, I don't know which it's going to go, but we've gotten Donald Trump twice now, so I don't want to see what's going to happen the third time. I hope that we don't have to worry about a Donald Trump presidency the third time, but they keep talking about it. But at the same time, I don't know where you at, TJ, because you are that demographic almost a little bit there. You're a little bit younger than me, so.
Yeah, I think the problem is that we speak negatively on what has happened for that part for said party. It feels like they downplay what Obama did when he was in presidency, so it makes people want to not vote for the next person behind him. It was hard. We were hard on Joe Biden, so then it was like, okay, now we have Kamala. It's like, oh, now we're just following up between trying to make a change in what the presidency looks like, not what the presidency is doing. So I feel like people just speak down on it, and it makes it harder for that next young Democrat that wants to vote for Kamala to be president. Like, what is she going to do to be the change from what Obama was, other than being a woman? It's like, where do we go?
Right. I mean, and I get that. And I think that speaks to a multi-level problem there, because number one, the Democratic Party keeps pushing forward somebody that nobody wants. I mean, honestly, we want change, but does the Democratic Party want Kamala Harris? Does the Democratic Party want Joe Biden? And I think both times the answer was no. I think that was a resounding level of no. It was no the first time, but they took it. It was no the second time, they took it, and then they lost. And the last time the Democratic Party got somebody that won it was Barack Obama. And that showed. It showed when Barack Obama won. The Democratic Party not only wanted it, he beat Hillary Clinton out for it. Mm-hmm. And then people came out and voted in droves. I think the first election that he won Iowa in the general. He won. It was a landslide. I mean, it was a landslide the second time too, but it was a landslide, surprising landslide the first time. But at the same time, I think that's one issue. And I think the other issue is, how do both parties figure out how to invigorate that younger crowd? And I don't think they have an answer for that yet. And they really are just pissing them off more. They're not going to show. And if they do show, they're going to vote for something that's completely opposite of what everybody wants. And we may see a year of a third-party coronation. And maybe not necessarily the presidential candidates, but in the House and the Senate, we can see some disruptions where we pick up more independent seats than you would originally have seen before. But I don't know. Where's your heads on that, Jeff?
I think that's exactly what we need. Honestly, we keep talking about this two-party system, and I hate it. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. Call me progressive. We need a multi-party system. We have two options, and we're always choosing the lesser of two evils. We need to take the power away from both parties, in my opinion. I know who I vote for. I know where I lean, but I don't think that's the best option. And so often I hear across the aisle saying, "Oh, well, you don't like our candidate, but did you know your candidate's this bad too?" Yeah, no, I don't love my options. We need to metaphorically blow up the dam and create that flow of water again, if metaphorically, of course, and do some change. And what we're seeing with these younger voters is that they're not satisfied. They're refusing to live in denial that a two-party system is working. They're acknowledging the fact that we don't like either candidate. We're settling over and over and over again. And I don't have the answer, unless everybody decides, oh, we're all going to vote independent together. But even that, I'm not sure is the best option. I think what we need to see is something well before a larger election start to build some ground with an extra party or two. I'm not, I am personally a fan of how like England and like the other multi-party systems do it a little bit better than what we do. But I really think that something needs to change, and rather than dismissing, because I think there's like an air of dismissal here with talking about the younger voters. I think that their concerns and their behaviors are valid. And what we need to do is listen and lean in and get a little bit more curious. Okay, why are you behaving this way? Why aren't you voting? And how really, how can we change this from the bottom up? I'm all about the community and the rallying together and refusal to give in to the isolation that this administration is trying to create amongst the communities. We need to band together and figure it out. And that's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen the year of an election. It's going to happen now or last year. We're going to have to do something and take it seriously.
Absolutely. And so, and I quite honestly, it's one of those things where we need to look at. And we're not going to be able to figure that one out by ourselves. But at the end of the day, we can definitely start talking about it and maybe start invigorating some ideas. But at the end of the day, it's going to be to both parties to figure this one out. We've seen some departures from the norm, and we've also seen some notable deaths that have happened over time here. And especially in the last week here, one of the foundations of the formation of the family, James Dobson, died. And so that's going to be big for the Republican Party as they're starting to lose some of their elders, their party elders. Where does that take them, and who becomes the party elder? And quite honestly, who becomes that long-term torchbearer? Is it JD Vance? I'm not quite sure the Raccoon Nines are going to get anybody there, but at the end of the day, you never know. But we're going to definitely be here for it. We'll be here to kind of talk about it and get you guys through it and try to get you guys the real and true take and approach on it over time here. But we'll be every Sunday. But we'll be back after this and after a short message, and we'll kind of go from there. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to Capital Discourse in this episode. We will be back every Sunday, and we will be bringing you all of the relevant and most important discussions that we need to be having so that you stay better approached and better informed of what's going on in your world. Thank you for tuning in.